Good Monday morning. We entered this next moment in the Genesis story, and last week, if you remember, we talked about Jacob and Esau, and it was the moment in Esau's weariness that he loses perspective and actually sells his birthright to Jacob. And we'll come back to that, but for whatever reason, the story segues back into Isaac, Jacob and Esau's father, Abraham's son. And basically, the Lord tells the same thing to Isaac that he told to Abraham. And he tells him that he wants to dwell in the land that he'll tell him. Just like Abraham, he said, I want you to leave your father's house, go to a land that I will show you. God is telling Isaac the same thing. I'm gonna tell you where to go. And if you do it, then I'm going to bless you, and I'm going to make your descendants, he says, as the offspring, I will multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven. And just almost exactly like the promise that he gave his father Abraham, because the promise is coming through Abraham all the way down until we culminate in Jesus, which is so beautiful. But this is what I think is so beautiful about this passage that I want us to consider for our own hearts this week. It's in verse 12. And Isaac sowed in that land and reaped in the same year 100-fold. So he's already seeing the blessing God promised. The Lord blessed him, and the man became rich and gained more and more until he became very wealthy. He had possessions of flocks and herds and many servants, so that the Philistines envied him. Now the Philistines had stopped up and filled with earth all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham his father. And Abimelech said to Isaac, go away from us, for you are much mightier than we. But it said, so Isaac departed from there and encamped in the valley of Gerar and settled there. And Isaac dug again the wells of water that had been dug in the days of Abraham his father, which the Philistines had stopped after the death of Abraham. And he gave them the names that his father had given them. I have to be honest, when I was studying this passage of scripture, my heart really just leaped within me. I believe God is calling his people back to dig wells, reopen wells that our fathers dug for us. And I'm talking about spiritual wells that our culture, our complacency, even our apathy has allowed the Philistines of this world to fill up and act as if they don't exist. And I want to try to say clearly what's in my heart. I believe there is a spiritual awakening for our nation that the Lord desires to bring. We've had spiritual awakenings before. But it's almost like dirt has been placed in those wells that our spiritual fathers spent countless hours of prayer and fasting and humbling themselves before the Lord to dig and to open up. And we have just allowed, generation after generation, has just allowed them to be stopped up. And I just speak over us that we are the generation to reclaim the spiritual inheritance of our fathers. I just believe that. I believe it is time that the church of the living God humble itself, learn how to intercede again, be willing to fast, and seek the face of God for a great awakening for our nation. Honey, if politicians could have solved the issues of the heart, they'd have been solved a long time ago, but they can't. Because only God can change a human heart. And we have put our faith in so many other things when God is continually pointing it back to us. And he's saying, no, the awakening, the revival, the renewal, the transformation happens in us with God's people. And when I read this, that was all my ears could hear. It is time for you, for my children in this generation, in this day and age, to redig those wells. And they come by you and I starting with our own spiritual revival. Looking at the places in our lives that need to be surrendered and let go of. The grudges that we've held on to, the bitterness that we've tried to justify, the complacency that we have allowed to bury us and make us apathetic. And that we would pray, oh God, dig up our well first. Oh well within my soul. That living water is what this nation needs. It's what we need. It's what our hearts and lives need. So that's just my word to us on this Monday morning, is that we would begin to pay the price needed for the awakening that this nation needs. Yes, it will cost us something. It will. But what we have landed on has not worked yet. And so could it be that the price is worth it? I believe it will be. And I'm willing. I believe you are too. May we dig up the well so the living water can pour forth. An awakening can come.